boat, man. You didn't get it. I think we're fishing in a spot that's got fish. There we go. I think we got him this time. I think we're actually in a spot that's got fish right here, and the bait selection might not be exactly what we're hunting for. Come on, big dog, pull on that thing. Come on up in here. There we go. Good old buzz bait on the pro. Pretty nice looking little fish. I think he makes our limit for this lake, and I want to eat a couple of these things this afternoon. And yes, sir. He's 16 inches. They need to be 14. I'm gonna take a few of these guys home and eat them for dinner this afternoon. My wife really likes broiled fish, and she likes largemouth as her favorite one. So that's what we're gonna go with. 4 bites. We got 1 fish hooked up good here. We just gonna fish on up through here. I think we end fish right here, and we just may not be fishing exactly the right lure. And I hadn't largemouth fished in a long time, so I'm out of practice really bad too. We're just fishing up through here. I see fish. I see a lot of bait up on these rocks. Ow, that sucker come off, man. He bit it so close to the boat, I couldn't let him have the bait. One of the things I've learned about buzzbait fishing over the years, and this is something that when I used to largemouth fish, I was well known for. I'm fishing my own design of buzzbait. It was manufactured by a company out of Florida. We sold into millions of these things, and the man that made these things died here a few years ago, so they're no longer available. And I treat them like they gold. That's 5 hits in 60, 70 yards. So I believe we're actually doing about the right thing. But what I'm noticing is these fish are following this bait. They're following it along, and it's when it starts to come up out of the water, they'll hit it. Could be right place, wrong presentation. We may fish back down through here with maybe a whopper flopper or a spook or a papa or something like that, and see if we can catch some of these guys. So far, the biggest fish I've seen on this thing, that last one looked like he was about 2 pounds, 2.5. And we hunting for some bigger fish early this morning. So we're just gonna cover this water right here pretty quickly. We're not gonna focus on anything, we're just gonna fish up through here. All right, we fished out to the end of this riprap. I'm gonna crank the boat and idle it back up through here. We're gonna try a different presentation. I apologize for the traffic, man, but when you're fishing on riprap on the road, the highway traffic's gonna have highway cars. Yeah, I'm fishing the smaller bait. I don't know the numbers on these things. I hadn't fished in largemouth in probably 15 years. I thought I was gonna try some different stuff, and my catfish boat's in the shop right now. They're working on the electronics on it. I've had so much problem with this Lowrance stuff that I finally ended up taking it to somebody that's what they do, is work on that stuff and see can they figure out what's wrong with it. Because the factory so far has been, I've been without a depth finder longer than I've been with one. I've had it for 7 months now. I've actually used it fishing about 2 months. The rest of the time it's been gone. When you spend $4,000 on a piece of electronics, you expect it to work. This presentation may be too close to what we were fishing a while ago, and we may have got the fish that was aggressive was going to hit this kind of bite. A while ago we got them to come up in here and show themselves, and they may not come back up here and get this thing. I'm going to make 2 more casts with it. We're going to put it down. We're going to walk the spook for a minute. First throw, first cast, he comes up there and gets it. I think it's a little spot. Nope, it's another largemouth. The spots are about taking this lake over, but These are largemouth up here. I think they're feeding on fry. There he is, he's making his debut. Welcome to Whisker Creek Fishing. Come on up and see it. There he is, nothing but monster. So thank you, sir. And there's your papa's brother's cousin, Big Joe, ain't that? Come on, bring us Big Joe. We hunt for Big Joe. Where's he at? I mean, that was an immediate thing to show you that you in the right place. We was just fishing the wrong stuff. Just working this thing with that Zara walking action. You do that by twitching it and giving it back some slack line. The more slack you can give it back, the wider the lure will walk. And you can walk it extremely slow like that. I don't even know what this plug is. I like the color on it and bought it. And it is a Jaywalker by Berkley. Just a little bit smaller size spook here. And there we go. Got 3 casts and 2 hooks. We'll get this guy. This is not the same. Ooh, yeah. Pull on it, big dog. It's not the same class of fish that other one was, but it takes some bites, man. It's been so long since I've done this. I was wondering if I remembered how. Come on up in here. He engulfed that sucker too. I think we're gonna take this guy to the bake off, to the broil off. Oh yeah. About 15.5 inches, pretty nice little bass. Oh, come on. He jumped and spit that thing. I didn't never get the hook on him good. You can see we're starting to build a viable pattern. For me, the fishing part is, the fish got it as soon as it hit the water. For me, the fishing part's fun, but actually the working the puzzle is what I love. Water temperature is 77.2 and it's near July. This water temperature out here is usually up in the high 80s by now. And this right here is gone a long time ago. But it's been so cool this summer that the fishing has really been crazy, man. You get on them one time and then you can't get a bite. You'll kill the fish and the next day they're gone. Catfishing has been extremely tough this year. Man, there's a pot of fish right here where we at. We just didn't get any of them. My timing's off with this really bad. This buzzbait is a timing thing. You don't set the hook as soon as he grabs it. You need to let him have it. Let him turn away with it, and you'll get a whole lot better hookups. I'm gonna fish up in the back of this little cut right here, and I'm gonna turn back around. We're gonna come back up through there with that spook. They were hitting that spook a whole lot better, making contact with it a lot better than this buzzbait. This buzzbait may be moving just a little bit too fast. This is a better fish right here, guys. Oh yeah, this is what we hunt for right here. Lot. Fight the guy down here, whoop him down, and get him up in here. This is a much better fish right here. Much better fish. I'm gonna try to keep this fish down in the water right here and let him play itself out. Get enough line back out, we can do something with him. This is probably a 5-pounder, looks like. What y'all think about that one? Let's think about that guy. That's a good old chunky fish there, man. Pretty fish. I'm Mark. I'd like to welcome you to Whisker Pig Fishing. We largemouth bass fishing today. That's a pretty bass right there. That's a pretty one. Hit the buzzbait. I'm gonna get a picture of him. We're gonna shoot him right back in there. All right, fella. There he is. We got some pictures there. We're gonna shoot him back down in there. That's a nice fish. I'm keeping a few today, but when they get that big in the lake, the population of them starting to get depleted. Ain't nothing to do but throw them bigger fish back in there. That was a female. I could tell where she'd just come off the spawn. She's got a bunch of little sores and stuff on her. So we're gonna get lined back up and try this thing again. All right, I'm gonna fish this side right here. The reason I'm fishing this is because it's concrete. It's got that same algae growing on it. Those rocks on that riprap did, and this is a much shallower spot right here. We're not target fishing. We're not actually casting at rocks or anything. We're just fishing. We're just covering water right this minute. Time to slow down. There's a time to stand on the gas. Right this minute, we're standing on gas. I mean, this is a technique where you're not trying to beat the bank. You're not trying to target and cast at every little thing down through there. You're looking for aggressive fish when you're fishing this pattern. You want the ones that want to bite. That's how I've always approached fishing myself. The largemouth, you can trigger these things into bite, and they don't have to be feeding. You can just piss them off and get them to crunch your stuff for you. That's what I like about them, is sometimes you can use that aggression against them. Yeah, if you can fish parallel to these things, down the side of them, you keep your lure in the strike zone longer, and you also, at the same time, you will also making multiple casts. That's where you can get into that aggression side of these largemouth and get them to strike, even though they don't want to. They just get tired of that bait coming over and over again. Kind of like you when you used to aggravate your mama when you was growing up. You know, you was just aggravating her for sport, and eventually she'd have enough of it, and even though she loved you, she'd run you off. That's how these bass are. They'll get enough of you and they decide they're gonna run you off. So the only way they can do that is they got two choices. They can either run away or they can eat it. It ain't like they got arms. They can't push it out of the way. They push it with their mouth. I'm really not expecting a fight right here, but you gotta keep an open mind. There he is. That's what I say, you gotta keep an open mind. You decide they ain't there. A lot of times you'll go by them and miss them. Come on up in here, big man. It's another largemouth, and I don't know whether this guy's gonna make it or not. That dude right there is 13 3/4. He's a 1/4 inch too short. We thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Yeah, like I said, I didn't think the fish were here, but I'm trying to get them to tell me what they doing. Oh, that's a much better fish right there. Turn the boat. Oh, come on, dude. He's pulling drag, man. I can't get the rod off the side of the boat. This dude's showing out. I need to get us turned a little bit and get us off of the spot. This is another fish in the 3-4 pound, maybe 5. Not quite as that big one as that one we got around yonder, but he's close to it. Stop this. Let's see, can we get this guy, man? Pretty largemouth. Come on, dude, pull on that thing, man. Give us your best pull. He's in the 3 pound range. He ain't as big as that one ran there a while ago, but he ain't no puppy. What y'all think about that one? That's a pretty one there. That's probably a 3 pounder. We're gonna put this one in the box, man. That way I know I got enough to eat this afternoon. We can keep 5 of these guys. Y'all see, I got the boat. I pulled the boat out away from it. Man, that's a pretty bass right there. I pulled the boat out away from it to keep from running up in that thing. That way we can get our stuff put together and then go back up and give it a really good presentation instead of riding up through the fish and not being able to do anything with it. Now we get our stuff together, check our line, looking knot over good, everything looks good. So now we're gonna go back around and come up on that same spot again and see can we catch another fish off of it. This gives you time to, when you turn the boat off, it gives you time to reset your thoughts, check your lures, check your line, all those things that you need, because that fish right there pulled that sucker up against the side of the boat and I couldn't get it off. I'm fishing a 20-pound big game line. I fish this buzzbait on heavy line. I like the monofilament because it gives you a little stretch, and you need that. With braid, the fish will hit the thing and it'll scare you. You'll set the hook and you'll take it away from him. So with this mono, it's got enough stretch in it that you hook the fish, but you got enough line. He never sees the line on this bait. It sets up off the water, so you can actually fish a bigger line right here and have better results than you would if you were fishing a smaller line. Get line back up and we're gonna go back in on our terms. Not on what the boat gave us, not on what the fish did. We're gonna come back up in this thing, set anew, to come back and try this thing again. Get a whole different shot. And there were 2 fish right there. They may be 20 right there, or they may be no more. You don't know. That's the good thing I like about bass fishing is they'll tell you. They'll let you know. They either bite it or they don't. That better fish come off a drain pipe right there. So I'm making sure my casts are working good. Now I got everything set up and I know my equipment's working like it's supposed to. Now I'm gonna make a cast back in that area right there again. You have to try to set yourself up to optimize on these high percentage places. If you just go up in there willy-nilly, you're gonna miss some fish. And when you tournament fishing, when you miss a 3-pounder, it's a bad day. Ease on back up through him. We're gonna continue to throw this buzzbait. As long as they biting this thing, it is my favorite lure to fish. I love the crankbait fish, but this thing right here is just, they ain't nothing like it, man. That sucker comes up there and crushes. It's such a violent bite. He ain't playing with it. Yeah, boat positioning and target fishing like this is everything. You ain't got your stuff set up right, you're gonna miss the fish like that. Sucker bit the thing so close to the boat I couldn't hook it. Yes sir, Miss Tina the Whisker Pig, wife of the Whisker Pig, she'll be happy tonight. She likes to eat these broiled fish. I told her this morning I was gonna come out and see could I catch some fish. She said go catch some bass, let's have some Parmesan cheese baked fish. It is some good stuff too. Sucker was up in that hole behind them dogs. Oh, he come off. I can't believe that sucker got off like that. Sucker was up in that hole behind them dogs. Oh, he come off. I can't believe that sucker got off like that, but he did. So much fun, man. That was a really, really long cast, and fishing this buzzbait, I don't usually throw it far as I can throw it, because it's hard to hook the fish on the thing. I'm not fishing a really heavy rod. I'm doing that intentionally. Once I get to where I can get the timing and all right on it, I'll stiffen the rod up a little bit. But I got a lighter action rod because I'm a little quick on the trigger right now. I'm gonna let this thing go back, try that cast again. Should have fished my way up in there and I didn't. I threw all the way up through there. There's a couple fish on that point too. Well, just flop around for her. And there we go. Let's throw back up in there again and see what happens. Got to be brave. Got to act like your lure can't feel that. Try that again. Man, that sucker come up there and cream that thing. Poof! When you pull a few fish out like that, you'll spook them. There's probably fish up in there. They spook. Here we go again. We're gonna get lined up and start to parallel these rocks. As soon as the thing hits the water, that dude jumps on it. Little peckerhead. Little peckerhead. Little bitty dude there. I know he ain't long enough. There we go. Come on, stay on there, dude. Get the motor set down here. Come on, man. Give us one more here. There we go. Spotted bass. In South Carolina, there's no length limit on these things. And you can keep 15 of them. So he's coming to the cookout. Man, this jokers do bite. I love that hit they get. They are super aggressive. I'd say we've had probably 8, 10 fish on. Our landing ratio wasn't too good. The hook on this thing is not the best. It's done been fished so much that it's sharp, but it ain't sticky. And I would change it out, but I'm lazy. I'm just out here having a good time. And when I get done, we may go and fish the skirt. But the bait that I designed has got a hand-tied skirt on it. It's not this. We're gonna get a look at that here in a few minutes too. We're gonna look at the baits I'm fishing, the rods, action, line size, and all that to give you just kind of a better idea what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Yeah, fellas, we're fishing up behind this guy in front of us. When you get on places like this, don't even consider the people that you're fishing around like that. You're doing something different. You're actually reeling at a different pace, and there's a difference in everything that you're doing right there. And you can trigger a lot of strikes like that. Even if you're following behind somebody, a lot of times they'll push the fish out of the cover that he was set up on and push him out of position. It kind of gets him disoriented, and a lot of times it'll make them bite. I mean, when I was guiding out here for crappies a lot, I would take and fish a brush pile till the fish would get spooked on it. And I kept trying to figure out what was going on, and I finally decided that it was the bait would get tight. When you started hooking those fish, it wasn't the fish as much getting spooked as it was the bait would get really tight to the cover. So what I would do is take the big motor, back up to the brush pile, and blow the thing out. And what that did was it blew the algae loose, it blew the minnows out of their house, it blew the crappies off the pile, everything, and they had to reset. You got these little minnows that they start feeding on all that algae, they get ridiculously crazy about that, and when that frenzy starts, it'll put those crappies on the bite, and you're able to catch fish that you wouldn't be able to catch. So when you fish up behind somebody, and we're gonna fish up to this guy and leave, we ain't gonna go around him, man. You gotta be courteous to each other on the water. I mean, we're all fishing the same stuff, and it's it ain't your lake, it's our lake. He's fishing the same bait we are, so what I'm gonna do is slow my bait down, and it'll actually change the sound of the bait without having to mess with it. When you reel this bait really fast, it will leave a little bubble trail on the water. But if you slow it down, that little bubble trail will start to go away. And what you're doing is you're giving the same presentation, it's just not quite as noticeable. And he's come down through here and got these fish looking up. When he gets the fish started to look up, we're just gonna slow our retrieve down. See, can we not catch some of them? Slow that retrieve down like I told you. Just a couple of minutes right there, and 4 or 5 casts, we get hit. This is one of them little spots. I call these things nooset fish. I don't put any of these things back in the lake. I got pigs at the house. We're gonna feed these pigs this fish. Them spots, I take them out the lake every time I catch one. They'll decimate your lake, man. If they not native to it, they will decimate the lake. All right, let me slow back down. Well, it got my bite. You get excited, you just tear right back out. We cut our speed back. Same bait the man in front of us is fishing, just a little bit of different than the retrieve, and we get a hit right here. This may be our last Larry right here. Let's see, can we jump this dude up in here? There we go. Won't know if it's quite long enough, but that is the Lord, man. Same deal. This wall's got little rocks on it. 13.5 inches. Got to have 14. Throw him back in there. There he is. Let's see what we got. He's pulling on it like he's got some big dog in him. Be a spot. Be a spot. Nice one. He ain't a big monster giant, but he's good enough to get some fillets off of. Nice Larry here, boy. Come on, dude. Broke us off. Broke the line. That was a nice Larry there. We need the new plug anyway, but I still don't make it no better. I still feel the sting. Yep, I've been looking at the lure, but I ain't been looking at the line. Usually when I break off like that, I'll pull about 10 feet of line off this thing. Now we're gonna have to go back in and hunt us down something to fish with. Lay down, big dog. Stop the motor off. We got some drag. It's one of them spots. Just gonna take a look in here. Yeah, it's one of them spots. He nailed that sucker too. Nice little table fare, man. We're gonna check our line this time. Thing cost us a 3-pounder plus a while ago. Definitely cost us a fish. We're in the 3+ range. There we go. We'll take another one right there. That's what I'm talking about. These fish, especially these spots, they kind of get in little gangs, be little packs of them. There he is. Buddy back here trying to tear the bucket up. He's trying to rearrange the cooler back there. Starting to get that timing back now. Put the snack on, getting a good hit when we get them too. And that little dude in, we're gonna throw him in the box. I think we got that guy. That's a spot bite too. Be Mr. Spotty Spot Bass. That sucker come up, man. Engulf that thing. He engulfed it. That ain't nothing like it when they come up there and bite it like they mean it. Be really tight. There he is, full pack. And that is a Larry. Man, look at that guy, man. His back's all jacked up. Look how his tail's whipped off to the side. Something bit him when he was little. Catch a boat right here. Yeah, something bit that guy when he was little. Look at that. Got that big hump on his back. We thank you, sir. We appreciate it, man. We appreciate you coming to be the star of our show today. Guys. Yes, sir. Another Larry, I don't think he's long enough. Alright, fellas, there that guy is. We have some overheating problems on that camera up there. We thank you, sir. Pretty little Larry swim right there, and I can see his tail sticking out. He's up under the boat. Alright guys, I'm gonna cover what I'm fishing with. I'm fishing a buzz bait that I designed back, I don't know, probably 30 years ago. They don't make this thing anymore. The guy that made this thing died the year before last, and I've been trying to get the molds and stuff out of his family, but what I'm fishing is just a 1/4 ounce head. It's on a pretty heavy wire. It doesn't bend really easy. I mean, if you bend this wire, you've done something. And as we're gonna see, you can bend this wire. This is a 6/0 hook. It's a laser sharp eagle claw hook, and the hook's gap. You can see that when we look at the hook. I got one right here that never has been rigged. It's a whole lot easier to see on. You can see when you look at this hook, instead of it being flat where my fingernail is right there, the hook's bent open a little bit. I call that a gap. It just gives it a little bit of bite to it, and I'm telling you, these things are sharp. This is a hand-tied skirt, and the buzz bait's not really all that important about which one you fish. I mean, there's some little tricks in some that work a little better than others, but the buzz bait's not the main factor of it. The presentation, picking the right days and stuff for it is a whole lot more important. We've, in the past, I'd say 7 or 8 days, we've had around 7 inches of rain here. So this lake's been up, down, up, down. It's a bunch of stuff floating around the edges that makes it kind of hard to actually fish your bait to be able to present it right. Some of the things you want to look at with this bait is you want to look down the spine of this hook and down the line, down the wire that's coming down. And you want to take that and look down it, sight down through there, and you want the hook and the wire to be dead in line. If it's off to one side or the other, your bait will track too far off of one side, or it'll lay over on its side like this. Another thing that you need to do is when you look at this line right here, hold your bait up, and you want the blade to be directly in line with that hook. So I'll take this thing, and this bait right here is just slightly off to this side. So what I do is I grab this bait by the head and I twist this part of it right here. This part right here, I take and twist this thing till I can get it lined back up. And that little twist right there put us dead in line. The next thing I do on these things is I want to get the blade close to the wire here, to the main body wire. And the way I do that is I take this thing and I'm going to catch it right here in this turn. We're not trying to bend it here. You're trying to bend it right here. So I'm going to grab this and bend it down just a little bit. We got it touching right there. And if you got super overcast days and a lot of wind or dirty water, that little touch right there is not going to hurt you. The blade's still going to turn. The next thing we want to look at is the way that the anvil, this little piece right here, is on there. And if you have a bait that the anvil spins on it, what you want to do is to take a pair of needle nose pliers and use the cutter part and go in here and crimp that anvil to the wire. Don't cut it in half. You just want to squeeze it hard enough so that this part right here doesn't spin. And what that'll do is, after you begin to fish this bait for a while, it'll begin to squeak. One of the tricks I've used over the years is I will take one of these baits and tie it to the antenna on the truck or on the side of the boat and run it for about 10 miles down the road at 55 miles an hour. And that spinning will make this thing touch that anvil right there, and it'll begin to make a contact, and sometimes it'll give it a little squealing sound. If you ever get one that squeals and you tournament fish, put it up, because there's going to be days when you got a little chop or super muddy water or really, really dark overcast that you want to fish a bait that makes a lot of noise. And you want to take this thing, pull this blade down, and you looking at this gap in between the blade. This thing's got an offset on it. On one side, on the back, it's bent out one way, and on the front, it's bent down the other way, this little tab right here. And you want to look where this tab meets this anvil, and you want that thing to be flush as you can get it. and this one just so happens to be perfect. But if it's not, you just grab your needle nose and take it and just tweak it until you can get the amble to hit flush. When you do that, you're not worried about this wire, the blade's on, being exactly straight. What you're trying to do is to get this amble to touch on this blade. And that pretty much so covers the naked buzz bait. You're gonna make sure that you centered right to left. You're gonna make sure that your blade's down close to your wire. It doesn't have to hit, and you need to make sure your stuff's sharp. Yeah, one of the ways I fish this thing is I cut the skirt off of it, and I'll just fish this head, and I'll take a frog. This is one I picked up at Walmart. I think it may be like a Kevin Van Dam frog. It's one of those super stretchy guys. I don't know what the name of that is. Like I said, I've been away from this for a good long while. You want to thread this thing on here. I'm not going to put it on here because I usually glue them, and I don't have any glue. So I'll take this thing and thread it down through here. And once you get it on this turn like this, you get the hook in the turn like that, then you want to take and look and see how far it is to the head of your lure. We're going to take this head and put it inside of this frog. What that does is shortens the overall profile of the bait down and allows the fish to grab it a whole lot easier. So we would take this thing and thread it up on here, and we wouldn't stop right there. You want to bring it on up on here and stop all the way up on this hook. And what I do when I do that is you push it up on here till you get to your curve, and then you want to look and see where the head, if you push the head up on there, where it'll hit the frog, and it's right there. This hook's actually going to come out right between this thing's legs right here. So you just hook that thing up on there and push it up on that head. And once I get it up to the head right there, I'll push it up on there and wallow it around a little bit and pull it back down. Not take it off, but pull it back down and shoot some Loctite brand super glue, that gel super glue in here, and glue that thing on there. And I'll let it sit a few minutes and dry. The other way I fish this thing is with a Zoom. This is a Zoom split tail trailer. This is chartreuse glitter. You can fish it in white or pearl or whatever you like. And I just thread that thing up on here, and it just gives us a profile like this. The difference in these baits when you fish the profiles of these things is sometimes they want that bigger bait, but what I've learned is when you take this frog and put it on here, you got all of the surface area right here. So this thing will actually glide through the water. It lifts the buzz bait up higher in the water so that your blade's not making as much contact as it would be otherwise. When you fish just a skirt in the trailer, then the bait sets down in the water. And you can see this, that the bait when it sets down is louder. And one of the ways to tell that is when you reel it with the frog on it, it'll make small bubbles, and there's not a lot of them unless you're going way too fast. When you fish it with the trailer on it, it'll make larger bubbles and a whole lot more of them. That tells you it's getting a whole lot more noise out of it. What I'm fishing this on is 20-pound big game trilene. It's just something that I had at the house. I hadn't went out and bought line. I haven't looked at the new stuff, and I'm fishing this on a Pitchyfon. It's a 8-1-1, and it's a Azul, or I can't pronounce it here. You see, can you figure that out? But they some decent reels for the money, and I'm fishing this thing on a cheap Graphite Series Bass Pro Shop rod. And the reason I bought this rod is because it's got a full cork handle on it, and the way I hold the rod, I need to be able to actually grip a hold of this thing. Yeah guys, I fish this lighter action rod because you actually want to allow the fish to come up and take the bait and then turn to go down and then set the hook. It takes some practice, but with this rod light, with this give in the end of it here, and you see it's not a super light rod, it's a medium heavy rod. That little bit of give right there will allow that fish to turn. If you add the stretch of this mono in here, it'll give him a chance to kind of turn and before you set the hook on him, because the fish blows up on the thing and it's so easy to just snatch it away from him. So I usually start out fishing a lighter rod, and when I get to where I can cast and all that stuff back again, my timing gets better, I'll probably go to a 7-foot. Yeah, I learned that you could let the fish take the buzz bait. You could let the fish come up and get the buzz bait and start to swim off with it. And if you give him some line, he'll begin to swim with it. And once it surprised me, once he gets it in his mouth and gets accustomed to it, I would start slowly putting a little bit of pressure on the fish, and I could usually reel the fish back up to the top of the water where I could see how big he was. And I didn't have to set the hook on him. And that would tell me which age class of fish was in that area. So I would be able to pick, let's say you fished 3 areas that you had a really good bite in, and through that little trick right there, I'd be able to pick out which part of the lake I was going to focus my main efforts on, and if that didn't work out, I could go somewhere else. But these are just a few of the things, and there's so many more. One of the things that you're going to run into is you're going to have if you fish this in the spring a lot, you're going to have a lot of floating debris, or you may fish it to where it's a whole lot of grass around there. And there are times when it's worth messing with that, but when the fish are up shallow enough to where you're catching them 5 feet and less, and they scattered all over the lake like that, don't fish a place that you're getting a bunch of little stuff that keeps fouling your blade up on you. Don't fish that spot. These are just a few of the tips that I have on the buzzbait, and this thing right here, man, I've made a lot of money fishing this thing over the years. It is my favorite technique. Well, guys, I'd like to thank you for joining me here on Whisker Pig Fishing. Man, we put a smack down on them. It was so much fun. Got so many bites, man. I could tell my timing was really off, and I lost about as many as I caught. But as I mess with this a little while, it'll get a whole lot better. Thank you for joining me again here on Whisker Pig Fishing. Check us out on Instagram and on Facebook at Whisker Pig Fishing. A lot of times you'll see a picture or something that the footage never makes it because you got something crazy, like the sound's bad or the card was bad, or there's all kind of stuff goes on to make it interesting. Thank you again for joining me, and as always, you guys have a great day. God bless.